Okay, back to... Oh, new mission from Nighthawk. Give medical assistance. Well, we don't have a medical bed. Okay, maybe we build a medical bed. Because one of our people needs it. Anyway, let's put it over there. Temporary location, but... And we got our reward of 2 vegetables and 2 fruits. Okay, back to the water security. So that's under resources. I'm gonna place a water purifier here and a water collector. I do need to be careful with building hull because we are down to 2 hull blocks. And over here I'm gonna start sectioning off this area. Because that'll be our industrial area. Okay, expand the ship's high-capacity power grid. Build one of the following objects. Small power node. This power node distributes high-capacity power to facilities. Advanced facilities, such as industrial facilities and ship attack and defense systems, need high-capacity power. Use this power node to expand the high-capacity grid and ensure facilities with high power needs are covered. Open up the power view mode to see how your grid is set up. Note that most facilities only need low capacity power, which is integrated and providing from the hull and does not need to be expanded. And the large power node essentially says the same thing, it just has a higher capacity. And this water purifier, it requires this high capacity power. So that's why I put it over here, which will be near the industrial area. So let's lay some of that out. This will be the recycler, which is the first industrial building, but I am gonna pause that. Then was to put a wall like that. They would need a space to do. Okay, so this is too tight. I need to move it back 1 square. And we're gonna cancel these walls. And add walls like that. Then I need a spacesuit door. So this will allow them to only go into the industrial area while wearing a spacesuit. And I'll be explained in the tutorial, not too long. Not too many steps. Okay, we'll pause this spacesuit door. We won't build it just yet. So if that's our layout there, let's build out just a little bit more hull. So we can put the power node over there. And we're on our last hull block. But now that we have that recycler, which I forgot to pause, building off, we will be able to generate some blocks from the scrap that we have. But let's try to stick with the tutorial somewhat. So I'm going to place the large power node right here. Because that's going to give us this area of coverage. To cover both the industrial section and the water purifier. But meanwhile, they need to go to sleep. And Grant is taking advantage of the medical bed to heal his chronic wound. So it says in 8 hours it's gonna disappear now that he has a medical bed to be treated in. Unfortunately, that mission has expired. And there are items floating in space. So there's a bunch of exotic ore and whatnot. So we'll have them pick those up. We can't process them just yet, but the ones that are floating out in space you can just pick up even without a refiner. And there is another mission. They still want medical assistance. So now that we have a medical bed, let's pick to give them some medical assistance. I will consume some of that IV fluid, but we do have 4 of them left. And in exchange, we're gonna get some rewards. Let's see. I want these energy block and tech block because those are hard to come by and we will need them for a lot of equipment. So we are, during the day, we're gonna accept that. And for the medical assistance, it pops up here and you have to actually start it. So if we had more than one ship, which you can have, particularly in ship mode, you can have several of them as part of your fleet, we would select what ship they go to. As it is, they will go to HSS Matthias, which is our starbase, and click start. So now they're gonna send a shuttle with their injured person to be treated in our spiffy medical facility. That's basically one bed tucked into a corner of our main room. Now we need to build a medical cabinet which distributes medical supplies and interstellar sickness pills. The pills are something used for hyperspace travel, but medical supplies are used for people when they are going on derelicts for combat. They can take some painkillers and bandages and stuff with them. I'm gonna put it in this hallway over here. And the power node is built. The power node has this area in which it services high power. It acts as a high power source. And using these arrows you can shift or shrink. You cannot make it bigger than 12, that's the limit of this node. But you can realign it however it helps you. It cannot go beyond the node itself. So you can only move it as far as that in terms of left and top, likewise right and bottom, but it gives you a lot of flexibility. And Lekit is the person who we're helping with medical assistance. We have 17 hours for a doctor to come treat them. So where is Alina? She's our doctor. She's in a pod based on that that indicator. Oh, she's on a shuttle. Okay, so she's coming back from a derelict. She's working at the medical bed, so she's going over to treat Lekit. These people that need medical assistance for missions, they do need a doctor to tend to them. Okay, so Lekit has been patched up. He's been patched up, but still says we need to give medical assistance. And Alina is just carrying things to bed. Oh, okay, there we go, it updated. Waiting for persons to transfer. So he got his treatment from Alina, and now he needs to go back to his ship, and then we'll get a reward. Meanwhile, this little section is built up. So I'm gonna move the oxygen generator over here, and the carbon scrubber over here as well. And then this table area is going to be a lot happier. So if I'm checking the leisure comfort, it's actually positive. They get some from table, seats, and lights. A lot of the leisure furniture uses these soft blocks. And we have extras of those, so let's actually set up a decent eating area. Let's move this light. And then we're gonna set up one of these round or like U-shaped couches. Move the table in the middle of it. And turn this chair around. And one thing that helps with leisure areas are these green walls, decorative plants, and decorative screens. So when you mouse over an item, it does show comfort 050. But that means the work comfort, the leisure comfort, and the rest comfort that it gives. So I'm gonna stick one of these green walls behind the couch and the decorative screen as well. Make this area a little nicer so our people can stay happy. And yeah, I'm getting a warning that there's nowhere to relax because, well, right now they don't have any of the furniture to relax on. But that is a nicer leisure. Oh, over here they don't like that the oxygen generator, so they're still sensing the oxygen generator. So let's close that with a door, because that's gonna provide proper separation. And that would be in line with the wall. Waiting for persons to transfer. Okay. Why are you not getting on the shawl? Like it? You need a medical bed. But you're just... oh, there's the shawl. They were waiting for the shawl to arrive from their ship, and they're back on it. And soon we're gonna get our reward. And looking at our leisure area, now it's a nice plus 30. We get seats, light, tables, art, and decorations, all giving bonuses to this room. So they're gonna enjoy a lot more when they are sitting there and eating. And we got our reward, energy block and tech block ×2. One thing to note about leisure is that they do not like to be near the algae dispenser in the kitchen. Even though you'd think as part of the eating they would like the kitchen nearby. Well, they do not. If we look at the leisure comfort right here next to the... actually, it's only the toilet that's bothering them over here. I thought it was the kitchen and algae that they disliked having nearby as well. By the way, them using the toilet will generate water and biomatter, so it's like a self-recycling, self-purifying toilet. And that can be used for algae. I know it's a little disturbing. The algae that they eat is made from water and biomatter, which comes from the toilet they use. It's a perfect circle of life. Okay, enable communications and point defense systems. So we need to build an operations console, which we did. The operations console is used to hail other spaceships and communicate with their crew. It is also used to control scanner modules. Needs a crew member to operate. Build a point defense turret. This point defense turret acts like a line of defense against incoming enemy crafts. Point defense turrets are only intended for defense purposes, as they have a smaller range in contrast to longer range turrets. This turret targets incoming starfighters, drones, and asteroids and is controlled by the operations console. And the point defense turret also has an asteroid version which can be built outside. The inside version of it requires to be placed, well, first of all, it has to be placed inside, and it has to be placed on the high power grid. It has to be next to a node. The outdoor ones come with essentially a built-in node, so they can be placed anywhere. And they do have this radius, which is as far as they will shoot. So I need to place this somewhat central to the base. And I think out here behind the pods is a good spot for it. Over here you do get instructions on how to salvage, how to deal with cargo shells. And while you have the tutorial notifications on, you will get those every single time there's something to salvage or a new cargo shell. Okay, we have our turret, and it's saying that it has no power because it does need a power conduit to be connected. So I'm going to connect it to the base itself. Okay, build research facilities. Research lab contains archived scientific data from Earth. Crew members with a research skill may operate it to unlock more advanced technology. Once built, you can access the technology options by selecting the research lab and opening the research tab. And the research workbench. The research workbench is used for reverse engineering purposes, supporting research efforts to invent new technologies. Crew members can disassemble mechanical items, dissect biological entities, and experiment with various resources to discover valuable information. Some research modules require a research workbench to be unlocked. Now, out of these two, the research lab is the one that you need for the first items of research. So we'll start with that, and that is under facility. We don't yet have the space for a dedicated research room, so we're just gonna squeeze these in here. But our people are having their dinner and enjoying this nice recreation area we built for them. Let's see how they're doing on mood. So Grant had the plus for taking painkillers, got comforted. They have a good leisure space, so that gives a +5 to their mood. Had a good chat with a friend, but for penalties, he ate too much. Unfortunately, I don't know that you can control that. He's got a chronic wound, a protein deficiency, and fatty acids deficiency. So because of the algae diet that I've been keeping them on, they're not getting a great nutrition. But overall, with the other boosting items that I gave them, they are fairly happy. So for example, Felix also has the sleeping comfortably bonus. Let's see what else is in space. And we have a new asteroid to mine, which has 2 raw chemicals that we can grab. And there's more stuff floating out in space. Our point defense turret will shoot incoming asteroids, so like the one that wrecked the bedroom right at the beginning. It will try to shoot those down if somebody is manning the ops console. The manning of the consoles is controlled on this screen over here, and right now it's all set to auto, so whenever there's a hazard, it will automatically flag the console that it needs somebody to do a job there, and the colonist will go and use the console. It's not as quick as if we had dedicated staff to just use the console throughout the shift, but since we only have 4 people, we gotta make do. There's the research console, so now I can pick technology to research. And there's a few directions I can go in with this. One would be to head down the botany tree, so that I can get a CO2 producer and composter. That would enable us to build our own, or not build, to grow our own food. So that's one option. We could also do autopsy table, which, let's say, lets you recycle organic material into food. Yes, cannibalism is an option, but we'll try not to have to resort to it. There's a few other technologies that can be started with: alien technology, learning and entertainment, and so on, but I'm not gonna jump to those. The other options that I'm looking at is getting into industry. So we have the recycler. We may want to get to the point where we can make our own hull blocks. That requires this assembler over here. So we will need the metal refinery that will make steel plates. We need Industry 02, which is just an intermediate node that increases production speed. And the assembler, which lets us take steel plates and turn them into hull blocks. Or we could go towards a power generator that uses power rods instead of energium, which is more efficient. Or we could go towards shields, which would protect us from attacks and from asteroid strikes. Towards weapons, which could be used offensively. These are the big weapons that you can target at a distance, not just point defenses. Now, out of all of these, I think I want to go down the industry path, because I'm always starved for hull blocks. So let's do the metal refinery first, then Industry 02, and yeah, you can queue multiple items, and you can also sort them and rearrange them. And then the assembler. Once we get those, I think I'm gonna want the botany stuff. So we need botany O2 for the CO2 producer, which is required to keep a nice atmosphere for the plants. And the composter, because that's gonna produce compost for our plants. The grow beds that are used to grow the plants, we do start with them unlocked on medium difficulty. So theoretically we could already build those, but we don't have the space for a farm room. So that's why I'm prioritizing the ability to make hull blocks. So let's also queue up the composter. The other thing that could be useful is this basic entertainment, which gives us some technologies for more fun options for the colonists, or for guests, because we can receive guests and let them use our base. It gives us the jukebox and arcade machine. And the other option would be the item fabricator. That lets us produce our own weapons. It would give us access to making rifles, which are more effective than the handguns that we have. We're making shotguns for more of them. One thing to note is that different weapons have a required skill. The colonists I created started with 5, 4, 4, 4, respectively. So they have decent skills, but if you start with random colonists, you might have to be mindful of the requirements. So SMG requires weapons 2, shotgun weapons 3, rifle weapons 3, and then there's also some attachments that can improve those the usability of those weapons, like the tactical grip for the SMG and the basic scope for the rifle or laser rifle. But I think for now we're doing okay on the combat side, so we'll stick with this order of research. Become a governor of the stars. Build and stabilize your station by building it further and exploring derelicts and mining asteroids as they enter your sector. Venture out on away missions by loading your shells and equipped crew members and return with resources and survivors. Expand your base and specialize in services and offer them to traveling ships in the star system. Work to increase your rating and become a governor of the stars. You can activate services in the star map. Well, right now we don't have the facilities to activate any services, but let me show you how that would be done. So you go to the star map over here or press the M key by default. And in this station information panel on the left, you can go My Station Services. And over here you can turn on a variety of services. For example, medical. If you've got a decent clinic with several beds and you have a doctor, you could turn on medical service. You also need to be mindful that it will consume those IV fluids, so you need a stockpile of those to run the service. You can do diner if you've got food and eating facilities, entertainment if you've got like some fun, games, songs like that jukebox and that arcade that we saw, if you've got drinks to serve. Sleep if you have just rooms to rent, so a whole bunch of spare beds either in a barracks or in private rooms. You'll get paid for that, and I think that's going to be one of the first things we try to offer. And a lot of other services. I won't go through them all one by one. Now, Felix is doing research. Alina is doing the operations management, so she's using the turret because we do have an asteroid hazard happening right now. But because I built this early, I believe it completely skipped through the step where it's telling us to build one of the recyclers. And that the recycler needs to be in an isolated environment because it generates a lot of noxious gases and heat. So this industry room that we have here, I need to put in there a gas scrubber and a thermal regulator. I'll just slap those like that. And it needs that spacesuit door, which I put on pause, so that it is a separate environment where they can only enter while wearing a spacesuit. Okay, this room is now isolated, and the recycler has recipes. First one, I'm gonna start with the hull scrap recipe, where it consumes hull scrap and generates 0.25 of hull block and 0.1 of a steel plate per scrap. So these, as one is processed, it will build up internally until you get a whole block or a whole plate, and then that gets ejected for use. So this recipe, you can say you want 1, 5, you can say continuous, or if it meets a certain condition. So I'm going to use the condition. I'm going to say if I have less than 25 hull blocks, and I know that's a lot, but that's eventually the stockpile I would like to keep, then produce hull scrap. And right now, that's the one thing we're quite pressed on. Actually, we're fairly low on infra blocks as well, so let's say also infra blocks less than 25. And tech blocks less than 25. Energy blocks and soft blocks, we still have a decent amount, so I'm not gonna put recipes for those, because I do want the hull blocks to be produced more frequently. And I do want to add another storage in here. That's the asteroid version, so that only goes outside. I don't want to add a storage because I want to configure that storage for the scrap to go in there and not in this one. So on the old storage, I'm going to set up some rules where if I go to the resource category, scrap and ore resources here, I'm gonna select all. I am gonna uncheck the Energium, the Hyperium, the Ice. So just those other materials. And I'm gonna say that I want these to be emptied from here. So no more are gonna be put in, and they will be moved to other storages as possible. Now, right now they don't yet have where to move them. Oh, and unfortunately, I don't think we have enough infra blocks to build. Yeah, we're one infra block short, so getting that recycler going is essential. And as I mentioned, as they are processing scrap, the blocks are building in its internal inventory fractionally. So we have 0.8 of a hull block, 0.2 of an infra block, and when they reach a full block, it'll eject out. When you have multiple recipes like this, they will cycle through all of them that are able to be produced. And there we have it. They made one hull block. You know, under the crew management here, you can also tell them what ships you want them to work on. And because Freya is our industry person, I want her to favor working on the base. So I want the other ones to go and scrap things and bring them back, but I want Freya to preferentially work on our base rather than going out to scrap herself. So we'll set that as a priority. And we could also say not allowed on derelict ships, but I'm okay with her sometimes doing work over there as well. Now let's see. Who could we put to focus on scrapping things? I think Grant, who's our mining guy, we could set to actually prioritize working on derelict ships. So he's gonna be our primary scrapper. Meanwhile, we also got a new asteroid, and this one has ice on it and other things, but we can mine the ice. So 6 units of ice. Let's get those mined. These derelicts, we can now set more salvage to be grabbed from them, since we filled most of the urgent tasks that we had at base. So Freya's sticking around, continuing to do her industrial work, or I guess logistics. She's carrying some packages. And the other ones went to deal with scrapping. We've got a new visitor, CS Vulture. No missions, and let's see what trades they have. They would buy Hyperium at a premium. Since we are not a ship, and we are not traveling through hyperspace, I'm gonna sell that Hyperium. And they're selling space food, fruits, nuts and seeds, and IV fluids. So a lot of things that we want. Let's get 2 IV fluids because we're down to 3 from the 5 we bought earlier. And get some space food. I'm gonna see if there's anything that I'm willing to part with, even if they're not at a premium. These combat stimulants, I am terrible at using consumables. So I'm gonna sell the combat stimulants and instead buy some extra space food and buy 1 unit of fruits. And that's pretty much all the money we have. Grant is sleeping in the medical bed. And how is he doing? He's... I'm not sure why he's in a medical bed. He doesn't have any wounds. But you do you, Grunt. Everybody else is enjoying the barracks. One thing that they also like is having some outside windows. So, over on this side, facing the landing pad and solar arrays, let's give them a hull window so that they can see outside. Eventually they get a little cabin fevery if you don't give them some windows. And they did get that last infra block that we needed, so this cargo is built. So let's give it some rules. First off, I want to select everything and not allow them to bring other stuff there. Okay, and we got a storyline dialogue. Greetings, Governor. My name is Rufus. I am the leader of the main supply ship of the Haven Foundation Exodus fleet. A warm greeting from me too. My name is Noemi. I am the head of security for the Exodus fleet supply ship. Our mission is to supply the whole Exodus fleet with valuable resources. We are here to start mining operations in this star system. Maybe you would be willing to help us out? Pathfinders of the Exodus fleet need recreational services and time away from trailblazing. Maybe you could offer them food and entertainment when they visit your sector? Other frequent needs for Pathfinder ships include fuel replenishment as well as repair and medical services. Specialize in one or two at first, there will be time to expand. We will also need help with securing special mining sectors within this star system. As you are just starting out, we will contact you later with more details on opportunities to work together. Your base is coming along nicely. Keep up the good work. So, those are the Pathfinders. Yeah, or Heaven Foundation, I believe they're called. Exodus Fleet Supply Ship. But the faction, I believe, is Heaven Foundation. Yeah, Heaven Foundation Exodus Fleet. And we can earn prestige points that then can be used in the shop to trade for resources, technologies, or crew members. And I find that getting crew members can be one of the better uses of the prestige points. Because every once in a while, the people that you can hire through these prestige points they get re-randomized along with the rest of the stock of the store and the tech being offered. So sometimes you get some pretty good ones. For example, this guy is a hardworking, so that's a good trait. And he's got, construction, research, medical, pretty good potential in a lot of them. Valerie here, even better starting skills. She's got a lot of force. She's got an iron stomach, so not as much into productivity, but it does give her a bunch of immunities to, eating human meat, eating monster meat. Corey is smart, so he would be improving his skills faster, but he's more likely to surrender. But look at the skills. He's starting with a 6 in botany, a couple of 5s, a 7 in weapons. So he would be a very good soldier, plus with a bunch of peacetime skills, and 6 in gunning. You can get some really good colonists out of this. But right now we don't have any of those combinations, nor are we in a position to yet offer services. And I was setting up this storage in the industrial area. First, I denied everything from being brought in here. Then I'm gonna select just the scrap. So I can select all in this category, but deselect the ice. I'm gonna put the scrap and these other things like base metals and things like that are essentially for industrial use. And I'm gonna say bring them here. Because that way, the scrap is going to go straight into that storage. It's going to be right next to the recycler. So it's going to be a lot more efficient in terms of our colonists. Or particularly Freya, who's doing the industrial work, doing her job. And they build a window over here. So that gives something for any of the idle colonists moving the scrap from that storage to the industrial storage. Our little starbase is coming along. We grew quite a bit from the 2 tiny starter modules that we began the game with. But more growth will have to wait until next time, and we'll see what we can do to turn this little asteroid into a true intergalactic hub. For now, thank you for watching, and if you found this channel through the Space Haven series, I recommend also checking out my Stationeers content for another great gem of an indie space game. Thanks again, and see you next time.